welcome to Bitstorm, a comedy game design podcast by two guys who know nothing about comedy nor game design. I'm Trevor Scott, and with me, as always, is Ben Slinger.
Hello.
Wow, your voice sounds very sexy tonight, Ben. Is that a foreboding, like...
I have been
is that foretelling? That's foretelling of what the games are going to be about tonight.
I've been possessed by the demon of game development.
Or the lurgy that is known as...
the common cold. Yes, I'm getting over a cold, so I apologize for my voice tonight, but we shall get through it, and I can do many a voice down here.
That sounds awesome. So, why don't you tell our wonderful listeners what we are going to play first?
We're going to play... No, I keep doing it. We're going to play Click Pitch, and this is a game where we each have a random word generator in front of us. And on the count of 3, 2, 1, click, we're each going to get a phrase. So we're actually playing what we call ramped up click pitch. We will get 2 words each, an adjective and a noun. And we're going to throw those words together, make a game design, and hopefully it's going to be fun. Hopefully some cool stuff will come out of it. It usually does. And then we'll throw it away. We'll do it again as many times as we feel like.
Okay.
Let's do it.
3, 2, 1, click. Perpetual defeated.
Concise paint.
Ooh. Is this a roguelike where you're continually going through and painting a dungeon?
Oh. So kind of like a mix between De Blob and...
Hades.
Sure, since I know that's what you've been playing this week.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. Painting a dungeon. So I do like the idea that you've got particular moves then that spread paint in different ways.
Yeah. And it's basically like little missions against like little blobs that are trying to paint some of the dungeon. You're going through trying to paint the majority of it and while defeating them. And then you move into the next room. And
so are you picturing this as like a top-down 3/4-ish view like Hades, or a side scroll, or...
Either the view from Hades or sort of like a top-down Binding of Isaac sort of view. I think that could work quite well. I still reckon everything in 3D, because there's just something about like characters in 3D that look good.
Yeah. So top-down 3D, and how do you then... So if you kill something, does it explode in paint, or do your weapons do paint? Or I guess it depends on what pickups you've had.
Yeah. Like maybe you're kind of like a balloon that's full of paint that has like a couple little punctures in it that you're sort of bouncing around and gradually getting smaller, and you got to like refill with paint as you go.
Oh, refill the paint. That could be interesting. Yeah, because I'm just picturing how some of those like synergies in a roguelike could go, where, you know, maybe initially you've just got a particular move that sort of blasts paint in a circle out around you, and you recharge it by attacking enemies, right? And so enemies keep coming until you clear a room by essentially painting enough of it. But the items that you then pick up might be things like, okay, now when you like slash with your weapon, it does a splat of paint, or, you know, when you throw your grenade type thing, you know, you've got like now a paint grenade-ish sort of thing.
Yep.
Or when you kill an enemy, they explode in paint. You know, or now your paint does damage, or...
I kind of like the idea of a push and pull sort of thing, that the enemies, when you're defeating enemies, you're basically sucking paint out of them. And when they're attacking you, they're leaching paint out of you to recharge a little bit.
So are they taking away some of the paint you're putting down on the level?
I think they can as well. Yeah.
That might be particular movesets as well, yeah.
But the idea of, you know, your health is your paint, but it's also what you need to defeat each room. So you get refilled every time that you leave a room, but you can get to the point where you're really, really quite low on health/paint.
Well, I think maybe you find, I don't know that if you come into every room fresh, then that's, I mean, I guess that's a valid kind of thing, because the rooms will just keep getting harder. But
you kind of also like the idea of the occasional room that you get that you can refill the paint and all that sort of stuff.
Well, then that's it.
Other than that, it's just defeat enemies and be good at it.
Yeah, and again, like particular items or particular moves that you end up with that might let you regain certain amounts of paint, right?
Yeah.
You know, or add multipliers to how much you get per enemy, or different things like that. I do like that as an added mechanic on a traditional sort of slash 'em up roguelike, though.
I don't think you have to go through every single room, filling every single room full of paint. It's just the rewards that you get at the end are based off of you went through, X number of rooms and you painted, this percentage.
Like you painted 86% of this level of the dungeon and you get a certain amount of XP or whatever for that.
Yeah. But then, you also took 19 minutes to do, 5 different rooms.
Yeah. Well, and just like a lot of roguelikes, there's risk and reward from, exploring because you might find a room where someone drops a new item or a new, multiplier or whatever. That's cool.
Okay. Graphical style.
Well, with the paint stuff, it definitely needs to be fairly sort of simple, like cartoonish shaders in some way, I think.
So you're thinking cell shading?
Probably some sort of cell shading or just, like
very flat.
Simple flat shading because for the paint for it to be obvious where you've painted and for your character to sort of pop out against the paint and stuff, you don't want it to be too like overly realistic. What are the characters? What is the story here? Why are you painting this dungeon? Are you an interior dungeon decorator?
I think you've just taken over this piece of land, and you found on it that there was a dungeon on it, and I mean I'm just shooting from the hip here. I've got no idea as to what it could be. You have a go.
All right, here. Is this a reality TV show where you are like renoing this dungeon? So you're essentially clearing it out of all the monsters that have infested it.
/ Smash TV.
Yeah, well, exactly. Like, and also you're on like HGTV, Home Renovation Network, as the this season's hero, character, this season's person who is renovating their place and getting followed through. And so at the end of every floor, there's like an interview segment with the host.
Yep, I love that idea, but I want this entire world to be on an alien world where it's all paint based. Like, so your character is literally a container of paint. Because it's a blob style thing,
I guess so, yeah.
That's what I've got in my mind. So I love the idea of a TV show and having the interview with the host in between each one. And effectively then, every character that goes through can just be the next contestant. Like, it doesn't have to be the same character sort of thing.
Instead of them all being paint related, can they all just be like interior design related? So maybe the host is like some wallpaper or a vase or something, a chandelier. No, I like that. I like that each run is another contestant. It's kind of in a way of Rogue Legacy where you're like building off. The whole thing is, they're your descendants. What I like about that is it'd be cool to have layers of the previous run. So like
kind of haphazardly covered up.
Well, yeah, or just like it's gone dirty and filthy again, but you can still see the sections that are like slightly lighter or something because that's where you painted in the previous run. That could be kind of neat. Okay. And so you're just a paint-based being. And so do we unlock other characters that instead of doing paint, then they do wallpaper or like put down furniture? They've got different techniques for how they clear a room. Carpeting.
Paint will just make things so much easier. And if we were doing it in the game jam, it'd be like, yeah, we're definitely just doing the paint and basic mechanics and making sure it's fun.
I'm more trying to think of, the depths we could take it, of course. Are they somewhat traditional style dungeons then, or is this planet like, are their dungeons just badly designed rooms or something? Because they're essentially an interior design planet.
Well, I mean, you could start off in a house. Like the first level of this dungeon is, you're going through the house and you're literally splashing paint everywhere, and then you break through into like the basement. And then it just goes like deeper and deeper and deeper.
It just keeps going. What's the final boss to finish a run?
I think it's actually like maybe the host of the game.
Or themselves, yeah.
Like,
or it's like it's the seller. It's like it's the buyer. It's like trying to sell your house now.
Yeah,
that you've just renovated.
Because what I'm sort of thinking is that in this world, paint beings are being used for the entertainment of all the wallpaper beings. So it's
we'll make you like consume yourselves for our pleasure, whereas like wallpaper is out of style, so we're not going to. We're just going to watch.
And
for all of our wallpaper brethren who have been painted over haphazardly.
And so I'm imagining that the final sort of boss is the wallpaper throwing out glue and all this sort of stuff, and trying to stick the paint blob guy down.
They didn't expect you to make it this far, and so now they're angry. Like they can't let you actually win this game, this TV show, and be a rising star for your paint people. Cool. 3, 2, 1, click. Fascist aardvark.
Infantile encouragement.
Oh boy.
It's a baby aardvark, sort of encouraging its father to be a fascist.
Well, either that or it's a very transparent like Trump parody, and because he just has to be treated like a baby because he is a baby. This aardvark takes control of the animal kingdom.
At the time of this release, let's just work out when this is actually being released.
Oh, that's true. It might be past inauguration. I think
it's not.
20th is...
it's the 11th that we're releasing this episode. Okay. So as of the count, like there's 9 days left of this presidency.
Of Trump. Mm-hmm.
We're hoping that like everything went through fine on the 6th of January. This is being recorded in 2020, not 2021.
Yes.
So, crossing our fingers that everything went well.
Yeah. Okay. Fascist aardvark. All right. Well, let's take aardvark. What is it about an aardvark that could really like make it a powerful leader?
It's got 2 A's, so it's right at the start of the dictionary.
Right. That's why it's so self-important.
Yeah.
Because like I'm always first. Nothing can ever get in front of me. Until there's like
not even Aaron. And he just hates Aaron because
Aaron's after me.
I love that status power of, I'm the best because I'm the first in the dictionary. Now,
until something comes along, it's like, well, I'm going to start calling myself. I'm an aardvark, but without the R, just an aardvark. So I come first. Antifa.
Oh, God. Okay. So it looks like, yes, aardvark is the first word in the dictionary, which is good. It's exactly what I want to see. So that actually works in reality.
It shall always be first in the dictionary. That's the chant that they brings among his followers.
Make the dictionary great again.
God, this is troubling.
3, 2, 1, click.
Yeah. I don't think we can make a game out of fascist aardvark, or at least I don't want to put in the effort that would mean thinking about it. Okay.
Disabling numbering.
Meaningless seal. Now, I think we should take it in the direction of like to seal an envelope, not
Yeah.
Because that's just mean to the seal.
So I see disabling numbering, and I'm kind of thinking that it's along the lines of math being outlawed.
Okay, I was definitely going down like a Da Vinci Code style thing because there's often like a seal that needs to be broken or something.
Yeah,
but okay, in a world.
There we go. You've got your character for this game.
In a world where maths has been outlawed, only one person can find the answer.
Although they're not allowed to use the number 1. Only a person
can find the answer without counting ever again.
What's this word? 1. Why does it sound so lonely? 1 is the loneliest number. I'm just imagining the trailer now, and it's just like this creepy overtones of like this world where how fast are you going? I'm going D.
It's this really sad, creepy version of
I'm halfway between D and E. This is a C speed zone.
They have to use letters for everything. They're coming after me. How many are there? I don't know.
A lot.
They just use vague.
There are some
groupings. Some people.
There's a few. There's a person. There's a person and another person. Okay, so what's the thing that they're trying to unlock? I'm gathering it's math.
Yeah, so is this a situation where is this a world where there's never been numbers or math, or is this a situation where like some being or alien or demon or something has like taken away all mathematics and the memory of it from the human
think
race?
it's an Illuminati sort of situation where some secretive police force sort of thing.
It's like a 1984 thing. It's like if they can't count, then they can't figure out that there are more of them than us, and they'll never revolt and rise up.
Yeah. And I think it's a pretty cool thing that you could actually then have, someone break into, sort of like a Leonardo da Vinci sort of, break into his vault or something like that and find out, all these strange symbols that, they've never seen before. But of course, you as the viewer know that that's a number. Or
do we obfuscate it? So only once the characters start understanding do we like make it look like actual numbers.
Yeah.
And then it's all meaningless. I guess that's meaningless is just that they come across it and they don't understand it, I suppose.
Yeah. I know. I reckon there could be a pretty cool story.
Are we really like setting ourselves up for some difficult puzzles where you essentially have to solve number problems without numbers?
Yeah, you got to be able to understand like their numbering system, which is all letters. Technically there's still,
you're only able to count up to 26. That's the absolute maximum.
Well,
or is it just a base 26 counting system?
It could be, and then they find out that there's like another base that they can easily count in that.
Because that still counts as counting. I guess it's how far do we go on this? Like, do these beings has it got to the point where they seriously don't even understand the concept of like quantifying something?
Well, imagine if you'd never been taught to count things. Like, you had to be taught at one stage that you didn't just intrinsically know that there was counting. And that you had 5 things.
True, but I think it comes down to like, yes, if you weren't taught the language for that, what would your brain do? Like, would you still, even without being able to say, if I have 5 and take away 2, I'd have 3, would you still be able to understand that concept if you just looked at 5 and then looked at like,
what we need to do is we need to
taking 2 away?
We need to get 2 kids. So take 2 of your kids who don't know.
Well, I mean, I have twins, so we could do some tests on them. I'll stop teaching one of them numbers now.
No, I think they're too far. I think they're too far. So we need to choose the youngest one, and then you're gonna have to have another one. You're gonna have to have 5.
Well, that's it. No, that's not a good enough control. I'm just gonna have to have another set of twins. Fuck. This game is getting expensive to make. The budget is going to be really high.
But it's going to be fun to make. But then there's 9 months cooking in the oven.
Twins.
Yeah, but technically you're not going to have to raise them because they're going to sort of be in like
test subjects.
They're going to be in a control facility, and then we'll know what happens if you don't teach numbers.
Man, AAA game development is just getting out of control.
Yeah.
All right. Click. In a world. Original drum.
Automated parameter.
It's like that's just a mixing, that's just like a music thingy software. You know what I mean?
It automatically chooses the best drum beat.
No, I just mean in like your digital audio workstation or whatever, you've got parameters that you can automate over time. Anyway.
Yeah.
Okay. So, I mean, when I saw Original Drum, I was like, okay, is this like a rock game? Is this like in the lore of rock and roll? In that
okay, so it's set in the like in an alternate history sort of thing, kind of like a oh shit, what was that game by Double Fine?
Oh, a Brutal Legend.
Yeah, Brutal Legend. Yeah, kind of like that, but it's all about the original drum. So it's
yeah, okay, yeah, it's this like rock lore historical kind of
So
first person.
So I'm picturing again the trailer. Everything's a drum. Everything's a drum.
But it wasn't always that way.
Okay, so I'm picturing that it's a drummer from the future that gets sent back in time because
love it.
He's in the middle of a rock concert, and then all of a sudden his drums just go missing, and everyone else just looks at him and go, "What are you doing here on the stage?
What are you doing here? What are those in your hands?" Because somehow he still has his drumsticks.
He's got his drumsticks. So he goes back in time,
but they're just pieces of wood. They're not like shaped or anything.
No, they're not shaped.
Sticks.
They're just dowels, basically.
Yeah.
So he uses them as like weapons and shit in this game.
So you're essentially saying that someone has gone back and changed history and destroyed the original drum or like stolen it.
And for some reason, this one drummer, this is where, like, this is the reason why he remembers everything, because his ancestor is the first drummer. So
cool. Yeah. And he was like in the middle of the most epic drum solo. And so he was like connecting directly to his ancestors, spirit. And that's why, he's the one who can.
Yeah. So I'm loving this idea that he goes back and, he's got these sort of, he can start tapping into these mystical powers.
Tapping. Yeah.
Yeah.
Tapping.
I'm thinking, like, the further that you go into the game, you start realizing that the drum was inside you all along. And so as he starts, sort of...
he starts, like, playing drums on himself?
No, he starts...
He can start creating beats on things.
Yeah, air drums, basically. And that's enough to sort of bring forth the power and beat down.
I love combos based on, like, drum hits,
patterns.
Like paradiddle. Ba-ba-ba-ba.
I'm just imagining, as you're going through and playing it and getting some of these cool combos that you see, like in that comic book style of paradiddle sort of come up.
Totally.
Because
I think you get like more points. Like that's how you keep a combo going, is by keeping a beat going as you attack them. Like if you can keep a good run of paradiddles going, then you just multiply every time.
Yeah. Then you got, sort of, maybe you first go in and you only know sort of stuff from the 4/4 beat.
Yeah.
Patterns. But then, later on you can actually start flicking into, 6/8 timing or even 7/8 or something like so crazy that, it's sort of breaking your mind.
I think you essentially start unlocking new drums and cymbals from your kit as you go, from your air kit that you're using to attack these people, basically. So initially you just got the snare, and you're just like, but then it's like, okay, you've leveled up, you've unlocked a crash. And so now you can like,
now you can just deafen everyone just with a final crash on the
you get a special move. Like if you play enough like good snare hits and you it powers up your crash and you get it in there at the right time, you do a ton of like area of effect damage.
Yeah, I don't know. This already sounds pretty cool, and just like comboing with air drums.
You have to be able to play it on like an old fucking rock band drum kit.
Yeah. I
don't know if you need it, but like you need the option. How are you thinking you like map this to a controller then?
But the problem is, how do you then move? Like, I mean,
yeah, that's tricky.
I think, you give people the option of doing it, but they need to work out how the fuck they're going to move, because it's sort of like this.
We release peripherals with thumbsticks on your drumsticks. Haha, it even rhymes. It's got a great tagline. Thumbsticks on your drumsticks.
And that you just slot the drumstick that you're using into the thumbstick.
Oh,
and
yeah,
therefore,
it's got like a little bass thing. Yeah.
Yeah.
That you put your drumstick
Okay, I love that. It's like a nunchuck, put a drumstick into. However, that isn't the main way that you have to play. That's the fun way to play, and that's the recommended way, but you can also just get a normal controller, and then, it's all about just hitting the same sort of thing on your thumbstick, with your thumb.
On your controller. The thing is, you'd have to use,
but you suck.
You'd have to use your bumpers or something, because you need to have the two-handed thing going on. Right, because it's too hard to do a good beat just all on one thumb or finger.
Okay, so you can then be going...
Yeah, just keep a good, simple 4/4 beat going. Totally.
Tapping here, then you can, you got your snare hit and you can sort of...
Get a drum roll going. Just like a huge... you always have to drum roll before firing off your ultimate. Just to build the tension.
But, obviously you can get some pretty cool combos later on that you're using the other toms in your kit and all this sort of stuff to get a massive sort of drum roll sort of happening.
Definitely.
Okay, so who has actually stolen the original drum?
Yeah, good question. Who's against rhythm? Or percussion?
Ooh, I have a feeling, and this is a big thing coming from a bass player, but it is a bass player who doesn't like the fact
don't want to share.
Well, they don't want to share the rhythm section. They've always got to sort of meld between the drums and the guitars, and they're so sick and tired of doing that. So they just wanted to. They're like, I can keep time, and so they use their thing is this guy was a shit bass player. So that's why, he's used his knowledge of time to sort of go back and steal the first drum and stop drums from ever coming into existence.
Sorry, I just love the idea that he's a bad bass player who can't keep time. So he's can time travel though?
Yeah.
Is it as a direct result of him not being able to keep time?
I think because his mind is in too many different,
right.
too many realities sort of thing that, his sense of rhythm is actually gone.
Yeah.
And it's from being corrupted in the time stream or something like that.
Right. Okay.
Ooh, so then it makes me wonder whether, the fact that your character has gone back in time has now actually, you get the rhythm. Maybe you can, when you travel back, you've all of a sudden lost some of that rhythm that you had at the start.
Well, yeah, maybe
in the final scene. So that's we're opening up for the sequel basically, where you're now going through time trying to figure out how to get back your mojo effectively.
Right. Well, yeah, we could do that. What I was kind of liking the idea of is that the villain is essentially someone who was the equivalent of Bill and Ted and has been traveling through time to try to get better at playing music, but by doing so has actually, because they've been in so many different times, they're their rhythm is split across so many different time, space-time continuums that they actually can no longer physically keep time as a bass player, and so have ruined their chances to do so. And so, yes, now they're they hate drummers because it just reminds them of their own ability to keep time.
Yeah.
And so, yes, I like then the idea that I don't think that takes effect right away. I think when you get back there, you are trying to remember because drums have been wiped from the time stream. So you're sort of having to find them again through this journey. But yes, then at the end you get back to the present and now your mind has been altered enough that you're not a good drummer anymore.
All the minions and stuff that you're beating along the way are these time remnants of the bass player. So basically all the people that you're defeating are just different versions of the bass player.
They're all the bass player. I mean, as long as we can figure out enough variety.
Yeah, and basically they've been warped through time and all this sort of stuff. And, you can see one guy who's sort of, a bit beefier, and then you see, the really scrawny guy and all this sort of stuff. And it turns out that it's all just different time periods of the same guy. And you defeating them all has, sort of brought them all back into the main bass player and starting.
It's kind of like Jet Li's The One.
Yeah, or Highlander sort of thing, where basically he's gradually all the rhythm that he hasn't had has actually, by you defeating all these other people on the way, you've basically given him his rhythm back.
Which makes the final boss very...
Bass versus drum.
More difficult.
Drum and bass.
They realized we should just work together. This is like a whole genre in itself.
Well, that's the thing. Like, it could end up being that the final fight is sort of like a massive jam session where you're gradually trying to win over this guy to...
Yeah, to just realize, oh, wait,
and you just start jamming out, basically.
We actually work well together. We need each other. Yep. Bass needs drums and drums need bass.
Then he lets you have the original drum.
Right.
And then you help reskin it and give it back to your ancestor, and that's what sends you back in time.
And it's just like a caveman. Ooh. hit with bone. Make good sound.
Paradiddle.
Paradiddle. That's awesome. Yeah.
I love this game. I really do.
I do love that kind of rock lore, just like making up reasons for rock to exist.
Yeah.
Which Brutal Legend does so well.
Oh, such a fun game.
Yeah.
I like the first part anyway. I didn't care too much for like the base building shit that you have to do in the second half.
It was a little bit of a shame that they went into that, but yeah. Shall we?
It was more fun just driving around. What do you want to do?
Shall we
second chance?
Second chance? Click pitch?
Yeah, I've got to say that the episode that I just edited, which is 2 episodes ago, made me realize what power this sort of second chance click pitch can actually have.
Yeah,
because that was one of my favorite games of all time that we came up with at the end of last.
Which one was it?
The Timekeeper.
Oh yeah, that's great.
So I actually called the episode off of that.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah. The Order of the Fourth Hand.
That's right. That was great. All right. We are going to do some second chance click pitch. And this is where we go back to one of our old episodes from approximately 4 years ago. And we look at the prompts that we had then and we repurpose them. We give them a second chance and we make a new game based off the same prompts. So I think today, Trevor, we're going to jump all the way back to episode 9, released the 4th of February, 2017.
Mm-hmm.
It was featuring Inga Berman, one of our favorite guests that we've had on. It was a very good episode. And we're going to do it. We're going to choose a few of these. So we have 7 here, 7 different prompts. So I'll have you choose a number between 1 and 7 and we'll go with that one.
4.
Sure. Move ambiguity mod. So ambiguity and moving makes me think of like having to perhaps guess what someone is doing based on the way they move, like based on an animation or...
it also makes me think of like the classic Doctor Who villain that they've brought in, like the Weeping Angels, that they kind of move only when you're not looking at them.
Okay.
And so it's all about like this whole game is about statues that you're sort of going through and sort of searching through this sort of thing. But then when you turn around, like the statues have moved and shit. So I don't know. There's just something about that would creep me the fuck out, especially in VR.
Yeah. And then where does mod come in? Are you yourself, maybe you play some sort of like handyman? Maybe this is like an old building or an old museum or something, and the things that are moving are like, oh, maybe it's like the hedges, like the hedge creatures instead of statues.
Yeah, I was actually thinking when you said museum, I'm thinking as you're going through this museum and you're sort of, making the repairs and modifications to some of the displays and stuff. Like when you come back, they're moving around. Like they've moved slightly from where you swear that you left them. And it's kind of like a night at the museum, but in a horror sort of way.
Yeah.
So it's not quite Five Nights at Freddy's.
Five Nights at the Museum. Yeah, okay. maybe we should figure out, maybe we should sort of take this backwards and find out, like, what's actually happening. Is this like an ancient spirit that the museum, in Night at the Museum style? Is it like a, ancient pharaoh that has cursed, that has awoken? Is it the spirits of the cavemen?
Okay, so first things first.
The dinosaurs.
Are we doing this in VR?
I'd say yes. I feel like there's too much, like, opportunity for horror in VR to say no.
Yeah. Okay, so let's start with the game and see where it takes us, like, with the backstory and that sort of stuff. So I like the idea of going through the museum. So is there someone...
Maybe this is a different type of museum. Rather than just a traditional, like, ancient history museum. I'm just trying to think of, like...
Art gallery, then.
To give you good tasks to do, is this a museum that has, like, different displays with, like, animatronics and... Not to go too Five Nights at Freddy's with the animatronics, but, like...
Yeah, as soon as you said animatronics, I'm like, well, Jesus Christ, those things are going to come to life.
Yeah, they would. No, maybe not full on animatronics, but just like moving sections or like displays where like you hit the button and the light turns on over here and the voice goes, right? Like that sort of thing. And so that you've got something to fix.
Yeah. Okay. So I also like the idea of, you've got that sort of room where you've got all the lasers, guarding like this big diamond, and then you've got...
No, okay, here's what it is. It's like, it's the tourist center / museum for like a town that's been around since the gold rush. And yeah, there's like a giant nugget of gold that was found in the town and that they keep in there. Yep. And that's what's heavily protected. Yeah. And so that's all of the displays are just around like, here's what happened during like the, you
hit rush. You hit the button and you see the gold panner, sort of just doing this as like there's
yeah,
as there's someone saying, and the gold panners would pick up a little bit of gold and then swish the water around.
Totally, it's basically Sovereign Hill, but maybe not like all the reenactment stuff, just like the museum side of it.
Okay, one thing I do want is that. At Sovereign Hill, they actually have like a trip down into the gold mine sort of thing. Ooh, and that is one of the things that you have to sort of go down into.
Totally. Yeah. And again, it's got like,
because you're the only one there, and, I think you have like a connection back to like the control room and that sort of stuff. And they sort of say, yeah, we're getting an alert that such and such is.
Yeah, well, that's what I was going to say. It's like, hey, like, Jimmy, yeah, Station 4 in the Gold Mine Tour is playing up. Like, can you head down there and check it out? That someone's been reporting, the sound is not playing back properly, or like the lights are flickering. And yeah, like you head down, but of course, like you lose radio contact because it's underground.
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay. First 3 nights. So I'm saying that the first 3 nights, it's all in your head. You basically... Yeah. There's no jump scares. There's no nothing.
No. Like, you make it ominous-ish just in that you are walking through like dimly lit areas. Sometimes things clatter. Sometimes there are sounds because it's just a place where other people are sometimes and other things happening.
But there's no jump scares. But the 4th night is when someone comes to steal the gold nugget.
Okay. So are we moving away from like supernatural sort of stuff?
Yeah, I kind of like the idea that it's literally, it's just in the sound design. It's just in like...
Well, I like the idea. These are like super skilled cat burglars, essentially. Like it's like a heist going on, but you're on the other side of it. Yeah. And so you do get some of those same horror things of like, did I just see someone dash past that door? But it's just like, it's someone in black clothes making very little sound. So yeah.
So you could have a couple of those cat burglars come through in like the first and second night that you sort of just see out of the corner of your eye, but they're just casing the joint. They're not planning on.
Well, yeah, maybe you have some, like, maybe this isn't happening strictly at night. Maybe it's just like, maybe you get like the last hour before closing and then like the hour or two after closing when you do all your maintenance and stuff. And so you get some time when there are customers, like when there are visitors there. And so, yes, you've seen these people just come through and looking a bit suspicious, but casing the joint, and, you know, asking some suspicious questions, perhaps. And so you're sort of tense for it. You're almost waiting for it to happen, but you still don't know where they are. You still don't know, you know, what's going to happen.
Oh, yeah. And then I think the fifth night, you know, if you've managed to keep your job because, you know, the cat burglars didn't take the golden nugget.
Yeah.
Then there's like a couple of jump scary sort of things that happen, but it's sort of, you know, just animatronics going a little bit wrong.
Right. Yeah.
Sort of just adding
just to,
a little
like,
bit
ramp that tension up a bit.
Just ramp that tension up a bit. But then, you know, it could be showing that the story is literally just this guy's week, maybe even the last week that he's actually working there or something like that.
Maybe I'm retiring tomorrow, and then he gets killed. No, I kind of like, though, I like the idea of almost this, like, that they come back multiple times to after you've foiled them, and you have to foil them in a new way every time. So, you know, you're doing your maintenance rounds, and then, yeah, you come into the laser room and there's like smoke everywhere, and you realize, what the fuck? Like, and you find, you know, you turn them off, you find, you know, a smoke grenade thing there. You're like, someone's gotten through here. But you've somehow, like, you reset the system and an alarm goes off and they escape and they don't get the thing or whatever.
Yeah.
And then it's like, oh shit, like we foiled an attempt. And so the next night is like beefing up some of your security, but, you know, do they sneak in another way? Do they find another, you know, it's sort of this cat and mouse back and forth for a while, you know, even if it's just 2 or 3 times until eventually maybe they like confront you or they leave you a note with, like, you know, respect, you're too good or something. Like, you essentially like outsmart them as just this, you know, handyman working at the museum.
What I kind of love is you can go into, you know, there are certain things that, you know, that's very far away. Like, all these things seem to be very far away from the golden nugget. So I'm going to get them done while there's still people in the park.
Yeah.
So then, you know, you get it done still within your time, and then you can spend the last little time around the gold nugget making sure that there's nothing untoward happening there, because a lot of broken things out there isn't usual, because you've done this a few times and you know this could be the night that someone's actually...
Yeah. Do you think this is sort of one of these things where it's very easy to lose and you just replay that night? Like, it's like, okay, I need a different strategy. And there's sort of, you know, a few ways you can pass the night and prevent them, but yeah, it's more about realizing what's happening and doing things in the right order, essentially.
Yeah, I do like that. I do like that a lot.
Cool.
Okay, let's go with another one.
Yeah, choose a number.
2.
Declaring axe bark. So I laugh because this is one of our kind of more memorable games the first time around.
Yes, definitely.
We played a lumberjack who was afraid of trees and had to throw the axes from a distance. So this is going to have to be different.
Okay. This is going to be a little bit different.
Mm-hmm. Good.
In this world, in a world, where you have anthropomorphic, like tools. Okay. And basically, the axe that you have is your pet dog. So it basically, as you venture out into the woods and all that sort of stuff, you've basically got your pet dog who's barking along, you know, beside you, but you can also command him to
cut something down.
Cut stuff down and all that sort of stuff. I'm thinking it's kind of like a survival game where you and your pet dog / axe are sort of, you know, bonding and going through trying to scavenge for food and defend yourselves and...
Yeah. So, I like that general idea. Sort of a whimsical little thing where you've got your little axe buddy and it's sort of a, you know, cartoony kind of vibe.
Yeah.
Do you then, though, because what kind of intrigued me then was, you know, different to a usual survival game where it's like, oh, I need to cut down fucking 13 trees so I can craft something. It's more like, okay, I can command my pet to go over there and cut down trees while I do a bit more exploring or while I do something else. Then I guess my thought was, do you then build other tools that then come to life? And you're sort of starting to at least like set commands for them throughout the day to gather and do things while you're able to then, you know, do the actual crafting or do the actual base building or whatever, or exploring.
Yeah. I do like the idea of you bringing these things to life. I'm just wondering whether, and, you know, tell me if you don't like this, but your last name is Geppetto. And effectively, you know, you've got this toy maker who made his son Pinocchio into a boy. And it's just sort of like this power that the fairy gave him has continued on. Any tool that he makes sort of comes to life.
Okay. So this is like...
that just gives you like a bit of backstory as to...
Yeah. I guess is this literally Pinocchio's father and like this is him later in life, or is it more just an homage, like a callback that we call this person Geppetto? And
maybe it's just a callback, and the only way that you actually find it is like you go through like the cabin, and like in one of the coats there's a wallet, and you open up the wallet and it's got like George Geppetto or something like that.
George Geppetto. I think we just do it as a callback. Because what I was thinking, actually, it might make sense, is that actually you need to find something to imbue them with life.
Mm-hmm.
So you can just create inert tools, essentially, which you would use like in any other survival game. But once you then like find the spark that you need, you can choose to bring one of them to life, essentially. And then it's like, okay, now that can sort of work autonomously as I need to. And so that can kind of be part of your strategy. It's like, I really hate like digging the feces trench, because why doesn't any survival game have that? So I'm going to imbue my shovel with life so it can dig my shitholes. Without
after it digs the shithole, it stands up and goes, "It's a living."
Exactly. No, but I kind of like that. Having to sort of find, they become a bit of a rare resource then.
Yeah.
You know, almost like the green slugs in Satisfactory or something like that. Like, I don't think it's story gated. I think it's just you find them around the place and they're going to help you with your, you know, automation and your day to day.
So what else is he doing up here? Like, obviously there's some story elements that he's gotten away from regular life for a reason. Is it something simple like he's evading capture because of one of his creations went rogue?
Ooh. Yeah, that's interesting.
Very early on, like in this process when, you know, he sort of learnt about being able to imbue things with life, he accidentally gave life to a rifle or something like that, and that rifle...
Oh, Jesus. Yeah, I like that idea because, again, you can sort of explain the world through, you know, as you go. So, yes, when you get there, I mean, the player just has to take it as given that, oh, there's an axe that is a pet and you can command it to do stuff. Okay. Oh, I can, like, give other things life when I get the right thing. Okay, cool. But, yeah, as it goes, it's like, oh, actually, like, my character is the only person who can do this.
Yeah.
And, yes, they, like, did something really bad where they did, you know, they essentially... like went too far. They were too ambitious with some creation. Maybe it is that they did try to create like a human level intelligence in something like essentially like a wooden golem, you know, or a Pinocchio. Like maybe it was a boy or a child. They tried to create a child and it just like went insane essentially because there's not enough power to create an actual, you know, human soul or whatever, and killed a bunch of people until they like chopped it up for firewood.
So I'm seeing this almost like a Stardew Valley sort of thing, but in 3D. In that, you know, you're creating your tools. You can go out and tend to your farm, and it's all about, you know, making sure that you got enough food for the winter and all this sort of stuff.
Yep.
Effectively, you've just arrived when it gets started, and you got your anthropomorphic axe going around, and you know.
Yeah, I think you start from scratch. Essentially, you're like, okay, here's a forest. I've got my axe. I'm going to be able to chop down a bunch of stuff.
Got my axe and a tent. Axe and a tent, and basically you're now, you know, gradually cutting down trees. You've got enough food to sort of last, you know, maybe 2-3 weeks, and then
until you start building, you know, traps and other, you know,
you may have to venture into town so you can sort of look down, you know, the mountains somewhat, and you see, you know, that there's a little town down there, but you know, the more that you sort of venture in, you got to try and keep to yourself. You don't want to give too much
away.
We can
bring in like an aspect that Don't Starve does, where your beard grows over time, and so depending on how often you go into town with a particular length of beard, they're more likely to recognize you. So you have to like, all right, I'm going to go into town, but last time I went in and had a full beard on, I'm going to shave before I go because then they're not going to know who I am. No, because I do like that idea of, you are you're trying to become a recluse essentially, because you're trying to escape this horrible past. So yes, going into town is risky.
Yeah. I still like the idea that you do have technology. It's just that on the back of your phone or whatever, there's like a solar panel. So it's continually, recharging with battery power and all that sort of stuff. And so you get correspondence from like someone from your past and that sort of stuff. They know that you've sort of gotten away, and they can sort of just let you know, stay out of the town for the moment. Like, I believe the feds are up around that area.
I kind of like it more as the like pre-technology sort of thing. But maybe it's like, well, for one, when you do go into town, you can get correspondence.
Yeah. But okay, so you got to go to the post office to get that correspondence.
But I do like the idea of getting more regular correspondence from particular people. I think there's like a fucking wooden bird that you created that can fly notes to you because there's like one person who was loyal to you or whatever, or who was your apprentice or something, back where you came from, and they're sending you updates, and you can talk back and forth that way. So every few days you wake up and like the little wooden sparrow or whatever, or pigeon or something.
Okay. So what are the other things that you can do around this area? So you found this sort of secluded wooded area that you're trying to like set up your base in and all this sort of stuff. I think this area is quite big and quite large.
Oh yeah.
Not satisfactory size thing, but like
no. But I think you're in the middle of a fairly large wooded area. Essentially out in an unoccupied area of a large forest.
Mm-hmm.
And then I think day by day you can just clear whichever sections you want to start building out your stuff. You can build yourself a little cabin. In the usual sort of thing. I think you have tiered levels of crafting to a certain degree to build some more complicated stuff.
Is there a couple of caves and things like that nearby that you can sort of go through? Is there like...
Yeah, I guess we need to decide if there's any sort of combat in that way, or just even like defensive stuff, if there's like wildlife or...
I kind of like the idea of a little bit of hunting stuff, so you can like set up like a trap for some bunnies and that sort of stuff. But there's
and again, yeah, definitely, because I like the idea that eventually any of your tools you can like imbue with life. So it's like, oh, this spear now has legs and goes off and stabs things on its own and comes home and puts them in a pile, because I've had enough of that and it's going to be faster.
Yeah.
So yeah, just these sort of little levels of automation. Again, not to like the satisfactory style. You're not automating everything. It's more just like, oh, that task, I'm going to use the spark I found to not have to do that anymore.
I put some legs on a bucket so it could go get the water for itself.
Yeah, well, I am picturing a very like Mickey
Mouse sort of Fantasia.
Yeah. Style of thing in all the tools and stuff. So I think
this bucket just waddling back, water sort of splashing out.
Can they go wrong then? Like, can something happen, or is there like a certain?
I kind of like the idea that there is like the potential for the soul transfer or whatever it is to go wrong, and like you wake up one day and the spear's like right in your face sort of thing, and it's like, Jesus Christ. So that you got to like put it down.
If there's like, just from a gameplay mechanic point of view, you can have a certain amount of active sparks essentially based on some central thing that you've built that like controls them or something. And you can upgrade that as you go, as you find, particular resources or something. It's like, oh, now I can have 7. But if you go over that, it's risky. Like that they might shift or they might not take your control anymore because they go rogue or whatever. So yeah, I kind of like that idea where it's rare enough that it's worth going over the limit sometimes. Like you start with like 2. It's like, oh, well, I'll go with 3 because I really don't want to have to like fish and chop trees and, whatever else, carry water.
Yeah, I mean, especially if you want to go down into the village a lot more and, investigate down there. There's still chores that need to be done up in your cabin. So,
or just exploring the area in general. Yeah, like that's beneficial too. So, I like that being a risk that you probably want the player to take. But then,
what I want want to be able to happen later on, you can imbue the cabin with a spark and put legs on it, and it can sort of repopulate
house.
Yeah, basically move you off to a new location to get away. Basically, if people start realizing, hang on, there's someone living up in the forest, you can relocate the entire cabin physically.
That's good, but that's risky because that's like a more complicated creature, a more complicated thing. And you don't want it to become intelligent and do what happened last time.
And then
next time, Gadget.
And then towards the end of the game, you break down one of the walls and you find like a beating heart there, and you go, "Oh my god, this is a living house."
Call back. Oh, I tried to go high. I really can't go high. Call back.
There goes your, how many octaves was it?
4.
There goes your 24 octave range.
Not right now, that's for sure. Shall we finish up on a movie? Or
okay, yeah, we can do a movie.
Let's just.
I was going to say let's finish it up right there, but no, it's okay.
I know we're going a little bit over, but let's do a movie. So we're going to take a movie title, maybe the plot, and just make a game based on that. So here we go.
You can go first.
Okay, sure. This is not based on the previous game or our Living House thing, but it is the movie The House, starring Will Ferrell and Amy Poehler from 2017, where they essentially ran like
a casino from the house
in their house. Yes.
Okay, I've got the horror movie The Collection, which is it's the sequel to The Collector. The Collector collects victims and then he tries to move them to his warehouse and become part of his collection of victims. We don't have to take it that way at all. We can just say The Collection, and it's a horror movie based on, All right. So up to you which way you want to go.
I mean, the collection, collecting is such a vital part of so many games. So I do like the idea of kind of playing off that a bit in some way. Sorry, all I can think of now is some deranged serial killer who's played too many video games and is going around collecting hearts.
But instead of the cartoon hearts, they've got the bloody beating.
Oh yeah, they're just taking people's hearts out of their bodies. It's just every time they hurt themselves, it's I need a heart.
I need health. Health is always HP. Determined by
heart power.
And he does that thing from Indiana Jones and the Temple of Doom, and he's
Karnamar, whatever. Just tears it out of the heart, tears it out of the chest. That's not really a game though. That's just a very disturbing thought.
Which one are you more leaning towards?
Oh, I was leaning towards The Collection. I think just because of the sort of tie into video game collecting.
Yeah. Okay. I kind of like the idea of it being a cutesy sort of game at the start, where you sort of just, ooh, that's actually kind of a cool idea. Hang on, bear with me a second.
Yeah.
So you're a guy following along this platformer guy who's just going along and collecting all these coins and stuff that really weren't his.
Okay, yeah.
And so sort of seeing it like a Mario-esque sort of platformer guy just running along and smashing blocks and getting mushrooms and all this sort of stuff. And it's
coming into the aftermath.
It's the investigator sort of just following along and just finding all the clues to try and find out who it is who's been stealing all these people's money and their prized mushrooms. And
this guy just ran through my house, jumped up, smashed through the ceiling where I keep my coins, stole all my coins, went out, dug in the garden, ate some mushrooms, and then ran off screaming that his hands were on fire. You got to catch him.
He said something about my plumbing being clogged.
Oh, he took a giant dump. I think he was trying to get in the toilet. I don't know.
He was just standing in the toilet, just ducking down. I know.
I think I've just got a good sketch for a sketch comedy group.
I kind of like the idea of this investigator just following along, this guy collecting these random things, and it's basically someone who's sort of in their own world, thinking that they're playing a video game, but in reality they're stealing all these things from these people.
So is it that we don't tell the player right away and don't make it clear, the first few cases you don't even know. And finally you get to like the third or fourth case and you start making this connection that this person thinks they're Mario or whatever, like that they're in a platformer.
You come across this kid and he goes, this guy came in, he was dressed in these red overalls, he put my turtle on the ground and just stomped on it.
Oh man.
I don't know.
All right, I think we're going to end it there. I think that's enough. That's a fun idea. All right. I think we're going to end it there. Oh boy. If you want to find us online, you can go to podchaser.com/bitstorm. I can't stop doing the voice. Podchaser.com/bitstorm. Go there, find all of our previous episodes and leave us a review. We would really, really appreciate some reviews, some feedback. Tell us what you like. Tell us what you don't like.
And finally, we'd like to thank Kurodust for the use of the song Mount Defiance off of the album Containment Failure.
That's right. So thank you again for joining us this week on Bitstorm. I'm Ben Slinger.
I'm Trevor Scott.
And in a world where my voice sounds like this, I can't stop doing it.
In a world where numbers don't exist and the original drum has gone missing.
In a world where numbers don't exist, we won't know how much this movie makes. So we don't care if you watch it or not.
That's why it's now for free on HBO Max.